Well, hello again. This is episode 3 of When the Beach Speaks, Listen. And today we're going to talk about the trash that we find when we are metal detecting. And this is one thing which you all see a lot of. This is what I call the snap top tab, because when you pop it, it says snap. Actually, it's called a stay tab, S-T-A-T-A-B. Bottle caps. I'm sure you've dug a lot of them. The old beaver tail or pull tab. And then, this is a spoon, kitchen utensil. My heart got beaten pretty good when I found this because it was all tarnished up, and as we know, you can still see kind of tarnish on it here. Silver tarnishes. So I got it off to really check it, and enough of the tarnish off to really check it. And this happens to be a silver plate. It's actually a Rogers Limited, made by United Limited up in Rome, New York, just a little bit north of me right here. So anyway, back to it. Back in the 1800s through to about 1960, couldn't find the exact date, every can was open from 1800s through about 1960 with a thing that was called a church key. This was a small utensil, about this big, and it had a pointed end one end, which you'd hook on the rim of a can, pick it on up, made a little triangle hole, and then you'd go on the other side and make a vent hole. And you opened up all your cans and soda cans that way. Actually, on the back side of it, there was another rounder one that you could pop off the beer can or beer tops on, because that was before they developed the twist-off caps on the beer cans. That was about 1960. From 60 to 74, everybody opened up these cans and they just discarded them on the beach. And it's got, in fact, Jimmy Buffett in one of his songs had a phrase in there about blowing out his sandal by stepping on a stay top tab. The beaches were just, and the parks were just littered with them. And in 1964, at a radiology conference, a physician named Lee Rogers, who had inadvertently swallowed a can tab during a basketball game, broached the idea of a can tab hazard in the medical community. And unbeknownst to him, but at the same, when they started looking around, an engineer by the name of Daniel F. Kudzik, C-U-D-Z-I-K, an engineer at Reynolds Metals, had been playing around with this idea of this stay tab, as he called it, S-T-A-Y-T-A-B. And this Kudzik in 1975 applied for a patent. By the time 1991 comes along, or 16 years after the patent had come out and Reynolds aluminum and people started using the stay tabs, a New York Times article said that that back for the same amount of cans previous to the invention of the stay tab or snap top to then, that actually in recycling the aluminum cans, that amount of cans weighed 4 million tons more. What that tells me is that in that amount of time, 16 years, there were at least 4 million tons of these little things spread out all over the beaches and parks around the country. That's a lot of them little things around here. So 1975, that stay tab article was put in. 1991 was that article. So I think we can pretty much assume that the stay tab replaced the beaver tail by 1991. So now, what does that mean? Well, if you happen to dig up one of these, it probably was dropped in the water previous to 1991. So that is now 27 years ago. I can remember the pull tabs. I didn't realize it was 27 years. So if you find one of those, if you find one of these beaver tails, I get a little excited because I'm beginning to think, oh, maybe there hasn't been that many metal detectors, people on this beach that were using metal detectors. Or the next thing happened that we got a new cut. So I start working that area pretty hard around there. Because if you ever pick one of those up, and I'm sure you have, you know they come back very hard, and you almost got to dig them. It says dig me, digs me, dig me. It might be something good. And of course, I don't do it a lot, but back in 2016, I actually got to a beach that I hunt every year. And I got in there early in the spring, and I'm walking on out there, and I could tell right away that the slope of the beach wasn't the same. There was a lot of sand up closer to the sand, out to where the ropes and floats would be. They weren't in yet. And then I got beyond the ropes and floats out there another 20 feet or something. All of a sudden, I hit an awful dip. And it dipped right down to my chest and then come back up again. A washout, a dip, a cut. There's a lot of names for it. And I started picking up beaver tails. Actually, over a period of about 4 days hunting that, I got, I think, 3 can tops with the church key cuts in them. But what I really got was, I think it was total like 18 rings there out of 4 trips. The best day, I got 5. Got 4 one day, 3 another day. So, well, I must have had another 4 or 5 in there somewhere. 18 rings out of that particular cut. And I know they were old because one of those rings that I got out of there was a 1946 school class ring. Now, remember, I'm a member of the metal detectors, and we have to try to find the person. School class rings are one of the easiest rings to find the owners of, because they got a school, they got the year, 1946, and usually inside their initials. Did quite a bit of research and found out that the actual owner of the ring, the lady, had passed away. But I was able to find her son, and I got the ring back to the family. And in fact, her son was given that ring to his youngest niece, who was going to get married in January of 2019. So, and I'm pretty much sure that the lady who owned that class ring lost that ring in 1946. So that was like 50 years that ring had been in the water there. And no metal detectors have ever picked it up. But why did I get it? Was because the sand had moved, or the storm in the wintertime had moved a tremendous amount of sand out of that particular beach and opened up a new cut. And the what I was beginning to pull tabs, the old can tabs or the church key tabs, and the rings told me that. So take that with you. The beach was talking to me that day, and you start looking at your trash a little more. The beach is speaking to you when it's giving you trash. And yeah, well, here's another speak. Here's a Jack Daniels. Look at that can there, or that bottle cap. Pretty good shape, right? Kind of a recent drop. Look at this one I pulled out. It's been in there for a long while, hasn't it? Beach is speaking to me. And when you find something like that, it says, I'm old, I've been here for a while. Really start checking that area really tight and go in different directions, you know, and grid it, go east-west, you know, work it, then turn around, go north-south and cross it up so you don't miss anything. Because remember, if you miss it by an inch, you might as well have missed it by a mile. So that's it for this one. I'm working on another one. I hopefully have it up in a couple days. And until then, good hunting, and I hope you find something. Oh, by the way, please remember to subscribe down here in the corner, that little red thing down there. Please punch that if you would. Thank you.